You know, when you dig into ancient texts, you find some rules that are pretty straightforward, and then you find stuff that is just deeply mysterious. Today, we're tackling one of the most fascinating and honestly puzzling rituals in the entire Hebrew Bible, the ordinance of the red heifer. It's laid out in the book of Numbers, and it was the one and only solution to a problem everyone had to face: death.
Okay, so let's set the scene here. In the world of ancient Israel, which has all these detailed purity laws you see in Leviticus, lots of things could make a person ritually unclean. This temporarily blocked them from community worship. But the absolute most severe, top-tier level of impurity came from something unavoidable: contact with a human corpse. And this wasn't about germs or hygiene. It was a profound spiritual state that needed a seriously powerful fix. And the stakes? They could not have been higher. I mean, this quote right here is incredibly blunt. If you failed to go through this purification, it wasn't a minor mistake. It meant being cut off from Israel, just totally separated from your community, from the sacred spaces, from everything. Your uncleanness literally sticks to you, and you're an outcast. So what was the solution? Well, the answer wasn't a simple prayer or a small offering. It all started with a very, very specific animal. The law demanded a sacrifice so unique that it really stood in a category all its own. This animal was the absolute foundation for the whole purification ceremony. Just look at these qualifications. They were unbelievably strict. First, it had to be a completely red heifer. Some traditions say that means not even a single hair of another color. Second, it had to be physically perfect, no defect at all. And third, and this is a big one, a yoke could never have been placed on it. That means it was never put to work, never used for ordinary, everyday labor. Its entire existence was set apart for this one holy purpose. Okay, so you found this perfect one-in-a-million animal. What happens next? Well, a really detailed and symbolic ceremony kicks off to transform this living creature into the key ingredient for purification, a special collection of ashes. Let's walk through this process, because the details are everything. First, it all happens outside the camp, which separates this potent ritual from the community's day-to-day life. Then the priest takes some of the blood and sprinkles it toward the tabernacle 7 times, connecting this act back to the center of worship. Then the whole animal, and I mean the whole thing, hide, blood, everything, is burned. And into that fire they throw cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet yarn, which are all items used in other cleansing rites. Finally, a man who is ritually clean gathers up all those ashes and stores them. And here's the crucial part. The whole point of that elaborate ceremony isn't just the ashes themselves, but what you do with them. You take those ashes, you mix them with flowing or living water, which is itself a symbol of life and purity, and you create what's called the water for impurity. This wasn't a one-off recipe. This was the community's standing remedy for anyone who became defiled by death. So the remedy is made and it's on standby. How did it actually get used? Well, it wasn't an instant fix. It was a very deliberate 7-day cleansing process designed to bring a person back from a state of major ritual impurity. The whole thing was super methodical. From the moment of contact with a corpse, a 7-day clock starts ticking. On day 3, you get your first sprinkling with the water, but you're not done yet. You wait until the 7th and final day. You get sprinkled again, and then you have to wash your clothes and bathe your whole body. It's only at the end of that 7th day that you are finally officially considered ritually clean again. 7 days. It's worth just pausing on that number for a second. This wasn't a quick apology and a splash of water. The length of time really drives home just how serious this kind of impurity was. Getting back to a state of purity after contact with death was a journey, a week-long process of separation and cleansing before you could fully rejoin the life of the community. All right, so the system seems to make a certain kind of sense, right? An unclean person gets treated with a special substance and becomes clean. Simple enough. But this is where the red heifer ordinance takes a really bizarre and fascinating turn. The cure. It has a very strange side effect. And this right here is the heart of the paradox. The very same water for impurity does the complete opposite thing depending on who touches it. For the person who's unclean from contact with death, it's the agent of purification. It makes them clean. But for any clean person who just touches it or who administers it, it actually transmits impurity, making them unclean. How wild is that? And just think about the ripple effect here. Every single person who helps create or use this remedy gets hit with a dose of impurity.
the supervising priest, the guy who actually burns the heifer, the one who gathers up the ashes, and yep, even the clean person who does the sprinkling on days 3 and 7, they all become ritually unclean until evening. It's almost like the water is a sponge that soaks up the death impurity from one person and transfers a bit of it to the person administering the cure.
So, this is what we're left with. The text calls this a perpetual statute, a law that's meant to last forever. And yet, at its core is a perpetual puzzle. It's this powerful symbol of how life and death, purity and impurity, are just profoundly tangled up with each other. Maybe the paradox was a constant reminder that dealing with mortality is a complex, messy business, and that even the tools we use for purification carry their own kind of weight. Why would the ultimate cure for defilement also be a source of it? That is a question that has been echoing for thousands of years.